back with Derek, the mage. We've just finally done it, you guys. We've finally gotten out of like the starting area officially. I did a little test stuff off camera, off recording, so that we could do some gifts. Because I've never seen these before. So basically, these gifts kind of give you. They'll basically allow you to super boost approval with the party members, which allows like super like basically opens up dialogue like very quickly compared to how you normally would have to progress. And we're gonna do it because why not? Alistair doll for Morrigan. Obviously, it's like a little voodoo doll for her.
I am grateful. 'Tis thoughtful indeed.
Plus 50. Ridiculous. Bubbly. Delicious. Cherry bubbly. So good. But yeah, we're just gonna give them stuff. Because it also gives them little boosts.
That's a one...
Sten. It's a little prayer book.
I am impressed.
Amazing. Derek gets nothing. Hand puppet for Alistair.
I could get used to this, you know.
Fucking guy. So yeah. And as you build influence, like they get like more powerful, kind of like little passive abilities, which I am not going to turn away. So with that, let's go ahead and just see what we can talk about with everyone. And of course,
I await your command.
By request and by just out of my own personal curiosity, we're gonna go ahead and romance Morrigan this playthrough. So let's get to it, shall we?
At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees. For a time, but one can only remain a child for so long. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds.
Dude, your mom probably beat your ass.
She was not. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken. And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been.
I don't mind that. I am going to be relatively quiet this episode. This is more of just like a mini filler just for folks who are interested in seeing the story. It's probably going to be a shorter video, just getting to hear about the party members and all of them, who they are. So this will be a smaller video, and then we'll pick up on like the normal kind of videos later on.
Do I not? I am still an apostate mage, even if I have left the wilds. The Darkspawn are yet undefeated. No, there is much that remains. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality.
+6 approval. Nice.
I await your command.
If I can ask you something?
So, full of questions, are you? Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
Powerful Malefica.
You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story? Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
I want the truth.
I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire. As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her. Many centuries before this land was even named Ferelden. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the Bard and fled the castle of her husband, the Dreadlord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conabar the jealous lord who looked on from afar. Lord Conabar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
Boo.
The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conabar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge. That was not the point. Conabar had no honor, so she would not have him. Flemeth begged the spirits to aid her, and 'twas they who slew Conabar. The demon the legend tells of came later. Lord Conabar's allies chased Flemeth, you see, chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies. The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began. I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has colored her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all. You ask if I have sisters?
Yes.
I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one. And these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed. So, should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too. How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect, even to her.
How did she
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
Thank you for the interesting
Flemeth
story.
tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless.
Sure, I love mine. Derek loves his mom.
Nothing. I wish to know nothing more. I find myself a little envious, to tell the truth. But it matters not. Let us move on.
+5.
I await your command. So, full of questions, are you? I assume you were actually asking whether Flemeth herself gave birth to me.
Correct.
Truly? I do not know. I once asked Flemeth that very question, and she merely laughed at me. 'Tis not inconceivable that she could capture a chastened man, or perhaps change to a more attractive form to attract him willingly.
Damn.
I find it more difficult to imagine her with child.
Yeah, for sure. Can they reproduce?
Who knows for certain? Flemeth is unique in her fashion, providing that the tales of her legend are as she claims. And she claims little. I do know the tales of Flemeth having many daughters, even though I have never met another. And Flemeth has always treated me as her blood.
Do you love your mommy?
What an odd thing to say. Why must love enter into the equation? Flemeth taught me everything I needed to learn. How to survive, the meaning of power, the truth of men. If other mothers do not teach these things, then I believe them the lesser. Room for coddling and weakness? Why should such things be desirable? To indulge in love is to indulge in delusion. Surely a Grey Warden such as yourself does not believe otherwise.
Luck. I am a champion of love. I am Derek. My actions speak for themselves, but if you must know, of course I
I
believe
see.
otherwise.
Well, we all have our weaknesses, don't we?
Oh, well, you know what.
I await your command.
Like that's
So, full of questions, are you?
Yeah.
You are very cute to ask so many questions.
I'm glad you think so.
And I am glad you are so glad. My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more. I am unsure. I was too young to understand, and perhaps 'twas bravado on Flemeth's part, or perhaps she was merely amused. I will never know. Flemeth would warn them once.
Probably just
'Twas a
amused.
warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait. A little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Got him.
Me? No, I never did any of the killing until later. And even then, Flemeth was a glutton for that sort of thing. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
They did get what they deserved. Fuck the Templar. Freedom.
Perhaps they did. Still, I do not begrudge them doing what they believe is necessary. The Chantry sees any mages not leashed to the circle of magi as apostates. And apostates could become maleficarum, evil mages that resort to blood magic and become demon-enslaved abominations. It may even be true. Still, those of us who prefer freedom see no reason to submit.
I agree completely. Bop.
An interesting answer for a mage. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand.
But of course, +5.
I await your command. So, full of questions, are you? Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I? Beg pardon then while I jump for joy. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness. Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
Very daring.
Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped, and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
Nice.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
What a bullshit-ass response. I'm not a human.
To begin with, yes. What is the point of touching my hand? I find it an offensive intrusion. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
glad to have you.
Yes? Let's ignore the entire Darkspawn threat and the presence of a simpleton as your only other Grey Warden ally, then. Not that I lack
Sounds
appreciation
good.
for the intent of your comment. Thank you. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
+8 major magic acquired. Also, let's give her. Let's see. Look at that. She adores me.
A fine gift. 'Tis cold in my tent, all alone.
Number 3, my lord.
So you shall come to my tent? But whatever shall we do in that tiny little space together while we wait for it to warm?
Number 3, my lord.
Good. Then let us waste no more time with foolish talk. I see the stories they
We're not
tell
gonna-
of Grey
we're not gonna
Warden
go through that.
endurance are
Sorry,
not
folks.
exaggerated.
Hey, endurance joke. There are stories.
Indeed there are. The unanswered question, of course, is whether the endurance exists because of the taint within you, or because the Grey Wardens are by nature so very healthy. I enjoy the thought that 'tis a little of both. Natural prowess, driven by a darker side.
Tarek, you dog. So what now?
That is entirely up to you. Simply know that I have no designs on your independence. I wish only to do what I desire, and if that coincides with what you desire, then so be it. And should you decide not to continue our misadventure, then so be it. Very simple, is it not?
What about love?
Oh, now you ruin the mood by speaking profanities. Silly man. Come then, let us be off before the others begin to stare.
Massive magic. I see that? Massive magic. Bro, she loves
I have
me.
something for you.
Says so. Sounds a little vague.
'Tis a ring. Now, before you get any foolish notions, let me explain. Flemeth once gave me the ring because it allowed her to find me no matter where I went, in case I was ever captured by hunters. I disabled its power as soon as we left the wilds. Recently, however, I thought to change it. Now, I will be able to find whoever wears it instead.
How sweet.
'Tis not given out of sentimentality. I believe you were too important to risk. If you were captured, this ring would allow the rest of us to find you quickly.
Sure. I'm glad to see you care.
Now you are mocking me. Do you wish the ring or not? I am tempted to simply keep it. I have no desire to see us part company so soon. Not unless we wish to, that is. Do not read more into it than is there. You have supplied me with equipment. Certainly this is not so very different, is it?
Thank you for the gift.
You are welcome. Perhaps it will be useful someday.
+10 approval. Alistair, be decent. Wait, it went from love to adore. Morrigan's ring, +2 willpower. Nice. Rock and roll. That's the immediate response.
So, full of questions, are you? I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend. Changing her form, certainly. Devouring lost children, I cannot say. She has not done it in my experience, though in truth my lifespan is but a fraction of her own.
Everyone goes
Why do
through
you
a
ask?
child
Is there something
devouring,
specific you
shape-changing
wish to know?
monstrosity, phase.
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary. Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
Yes. Maybe tied to number 3, my lord.
What a bizarre thing to say. But enough of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us.
+2 approval. 97 out of 100, folks. Love is in the air. Love is in the air. Tonight. Ow. See, look at that. In one day, in one little night, we just became soulmates. Isn't that beautiful? Incredible. Alright, so that's a nice little mini episode, and we'll pick up on the main adventure next time.